So welcome to the second pre-concert talk of this week. And today we have Claudia, Sofía, Alvarez, Cuba, and Gašper Livk joining us, whose pieces we'll be listening to this evening. And also to share some perspectives and insights on the contemporary classical music in Latin America, we have Maximiliano joining us. He will be also here tomorrow when we will actually hear his piece. So today just for this one theme. Okay, so while I was preparing for this talk, I was really struggling to find some common points between both of your compositions, Gašper and Claudia, because they are, the scores are so different and also the sound result is very much different. However, I found one common point, which is that with both of your pieces, music becomes a sonification of some kind of mental or either mental or body experiences or sensations. So I was wondering, what is your personal definition of music, if you maybe have one? It doesn't have to be general definition of music, because we know that those can be very tricky. But if you have a personal one, and how is it realized through your creative output or creative work?
Please.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Okay. To become very, very personal, I think that music just saved my life, like in general. I think that for me, it's like choosing music, or maybe music chooses us. I'm not sure about that. But I think music have the power of really transforming society and people and connect us. So for me, it's a great motivation to work on these relationships with people. Sometimes it can be like more abstract, you know, and sometimes it can be more concrete. But anyway, yes, I have to make a definition. I think yesterday Alistair told us that sound doesn't exist, but I'm not sure if it exists or not, but I can perceive it, or at least I think I am perceiving it. And I think that we're all here because of music and because we are feeling something. And I mean, in my case, I've traveled, you can imagine, like the trip I did to make here. But yeah, it's what moves us. So it's about vibration, it's about physicality, it's about what we are. I think so. Yeah, I know I'm like too abstract right now, but that's what I can say right now. Yes.
And you are also realizing this through your mantra series, which we will hear today, one part of it, but we also heard one last year. So can you maybe point out the developments in your not style, but maybe in your way of writing or way of perceiving music that happened through this year?
Yes. Well, I consider that specifically this series, it's what you can say like your experiment where you can be free. I mean, I'm trying to be free like in every composition, but specifically in this, it's like I'm trying not to put any kind of expectations about myself or the process of creation. And I think that at this point in this seventh, series, also knowing the people you're gonna work with, and knowing, as I was telling Gašper before, knowing that they're like human beings, very open, really like thinkers, really sensitive. So it's like trying to get involved also with that situation. So, in this piece particularly, for me, it's a space in which at first you will hear, and you can see also in the score, that it's like very notated as like when we are just contemplating reality, you know, that something apparently real, sorry for the microphone, or it's there, you know. But then you can like travel into these thoughts and see that reality can be very diverse and very different. So that's why I think in the piece we'll see that this initial theme then will guide performers, to the variations they want to do with the material. So it's all about that, to have the possibility of playing, the possibility of knowing that reality can be very diverse, that reality can be an illusion too. And yes.
And you also choose a mantra for each of these pieces.
It's not necessarily a mantra.
Okay.
It's more about the idea of maybe a thought or a particular vibration in which I'm like connected in that moment, but it's not like a persistent even melody or even like conception itself. Yeah, maybe it's just the whole philosophy that just connects with you at that moment. Yes.
And can you maybe share this mantra or this sentence
Yes.
that you chose for
exactly
this piece?
For
And
this
how is
piece,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
How is it realized through music or through the structure of composition?
yes, thank you. I think that for this piece particularly, I was very inspired about the idea of wisdom and how wisdom is this connections with reality, or how we interpret reality. For example, the first movement, it's treating wisdom as a mirror, in which you look at people, at beings, just the way they are, and the way they can reflect. So there's a theme also that it's like reflecting in the instruments, but this is like the musical part. But then through the piece, we're gonna have these different doors that can be opened when you are conscious that the reality is changing. So for me, the idea of wisdom is trying to get rid of preconceptions of people, preconceptions of maybe some cultural thoughts that we can have and that separate us as humanity. So like the ideal is to have this kind of illumination in where you can just love each other without any restriction. Yes.
Yeah, maybe in relation to what you just said, I remembered our last interview, the longer
Yes.
one we had, when you said that you see the process of composing also as an opportunity for growth, for you to grow as a person.
Yes.
Not necessarily just as a composer, but also as a person. Do you think this is also the way for society to grow through
Yes.
the
I mean,
music?
if you love something you're doing, it can be music, it can be plastic arts, it can be whatever, but if you're like passionate of what you're doing, then I mean, you'll be true with yourself and with the others, and I mean, we can be a better society if possible. But I mean, we all have traumas. It's inevitable. But yeah, as specifically in this series, I think for me it's very like a catharsis. You say that? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cathartic. Yeah. So yeah, for me, like the ensemble is perfect to do it so, because you can like connect also with this sensitiveness. It's not just like a note, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so maybe now we've come to the point where we can discuss the place of contemporary classical music in Latin American society. Maybe first thing I would like to ask is how is it perceived maybe also the classical music, Western classical music as a whole, not just the contemporary one, also the older pieces. Is it perceived as part of a foreign culture, or do you take it as part of your own culture?
Yeah, it's a very complex question because Latin America, it's a mixture of everything. I mean, you can imagine. And the fact that you have a color of skin is just a random thing. I mean, you have a lot of every people, I think so. And dealing with that complexity, it's very difficult. For example, in Peru, the country I come from, I can see like walking some minutes or just driving, well, being driven to somewhere, you can see like a lot of contrast. You can see a lot of pain in people. When you go to the inside part of Peru, especially if you go to the highlands or to the jungle, you'll see like a lot of poverty, a lot of people that are really forgotten, you know? And yeah, for me, it's also like, yeah, something that doesn't make me so proud of my country because we have like so much corruption and so many things happening. But anyway, it's an opportunity. I mean, we have to keep working on this thing. So, well, talking about the connection with European tradition, the fact that we're all mixed, I mean, we can say that the pure culture, or there are some theories that the pure culture is like the Incas or the pre-Hispanic cultures that were there. But I mean, the Spanish conquest was so radically brutal that, I mean, we were born with it. I mean, I was born with the European culture too, and like trying to deny that, it's also crazy. So you have to really, yeah, just accept that reality. And specifically in music, I mean, since the 16th century, we have Baroque music in Latin America. We have even kind of, I won't say classical, but mostly, yeah, Baroque music. Also, like the Indian people were taught to play the violin, and you can go to the Andes and you can see how they play the violin in an Andean way.
Yeah.
Or we have the harp also. So it's totally merged in the culture, even though you're like more inside the country or more like Lima, that it's like any big city. Yes. So for me, it's like. I won't say it's my culture, definitely not, because we're merged in this mixture, but yeah, we're part of it. I mean, European culture have a lot of influence in everyone, but especially in the countries or all the territory that was conquered, you know, yes.
And what would you say was the biggest influence for you? For example, while growing up, what kind of music did you encounter the most?
Yes, it's very diverse. I mean, when when I was like very young, I listened to rock music. I mean, it's like the pop culture, you know. And then I also liked opera. It's like a very different mixture. And then because at school we also did some folklore music, like Latin American ensembles. I also had the chance to play some traditional instruments, which was also like, I won't say that it's mine, because sometimes there's this thing that, okay, because I'm a Peruvian composer, I need to sound like Peruvian.
That would be my
and
next
why?
question.
So, I mean, what's Peruvian music, you know? What's Latin American music? Do we need to have aesthetic? Do we need to sound like that? I don't know. It's an open question. But anyway, yes, I mean, folklore is there, and not only the music, but the way how people in the past also collaborate with each other. For me, it's like very inspiring. I think it's kind of similar of what we're trying to do in the piece. We had this concept of there wasn't any money in like pre-Hispanic cultures. It was just about sharing. I mean, you give me what you have, and I receive what you give to me. So this kind of equality, I think it's a model that can be maybe replied. Yeah, we can do it again. We don't know. Yes.
Maximiliano, maybe have something to add to this.
It's so difficult. Yeah, also because Chile and Peru have parallel stories, but are also completely different.
Yes.
Also because, for example, in Peru you had the Inca Empire that was a giant stuff, a really giant empire that was brought to pieces. But in the case of Chile, before the Spanish, Chile was also colonized by the Inca Empire. So it was not something new when the Spanish arrived. It was like the Incas were there. They took the gold. They came. They took the leaders of the town, and then they brought their own chefs to do the stuff, and the gold didn't come back. So in Chile there was like hundreds of years of culture. Like gold is not good. It brings bad luck. Don't use gold, please. It's like, and yeah, but then it's like a period of like 500 years. It's true that there are a lot of interesting things, like what Alistair was talking about, of the Paleolithical kind of lost in music. We also have like these stone antaras that were really weird, microtonal stuff.
Yeah, the contemporary music
Yeah.
aesthetics.
Yeah, yeah. Like we find now, we see but in the 1000 before, 1000 years before, we had these very extremely complex instruments that were doing not tonal stuff. So, in a sense, yeah. But coming back to your question, I think it has more to do with the cities more than with the country in itself. Like, for example, Santiago or Lima or Paris have really similar structures of city, of class divisions, or the centralization of the land, etc. So if I go to Lima, I don't feel such an foreigner, because I recognize the city. I know there is a conservatory, there is the bus station. I don't know, there's the different neighborhoods. If I go to Paris, it's basically the same. But if I go I go maybe 200 kilometers to the mountains from my capital city, I will be a total stranger. Like, it's not so uncommon that I was feeling a complete stranger in my own city, because I was considered as an outlander because of class, or because of the school you were going, or because of there was like also like in some kind of fractal playground. I also imagine like maybe my capital city Santiago is like a miniature version of the whole Europe. Like if you would take Europe and condense it to a 10 million people city, maybe Germany would be like the rich kids, and then you have like Sweden or the more rich kids, and then but if you go to the periphery of Europa, then you start finding like children without shoes living in the street, and like in, I don't know, in Greece or so. No, it's not funny. Don't laugh. It's like really.
So what we as Europeans given all the stereotypes we are fed, would perceive as Latin American, like Peruvian music, would be the music of the rural areas. Probably.
What do you mean?
The countryside, not the cities.
No, I don't understand.
If I, as a European, imagined Peruvian music, this would be the music from countryside, not from the city.
Ah,
It's traditional music, yes. Because
entiendo. I don't understand.
I would say just something really short. Because, well, maybe Santiago is very different, but Lima, I mean, maybe in the 60s, because of the necessity of people of trying to have opportunities, it's a really big city when you have a lot of migration. So then you have this now pop, for example, genres like cumbia, that it's folklore music plus some synthesizers, some electric guitars, you know, and you have the chicha. So there's a new expressions that come from this migration. But we won't say that, okay, Lima, it's a bubble, and maybe some districts, you know, and like really that's 2% of people. But then everything is like mixing and mixing and mixing. Yes. But yeah, the stereotypes you may have, it's more like the traditional music of, you know, the charango, quena, this, yeah, like pentatonic scales. Yeah.
Maybe the question was not the best, so I will take this moment to read your presentation, because I haven't done this yet. So Claudia Sofía Alvarez Cuba is a Peruvian composer whose music explores the power of sound in human experience, investigating aspects of sound such as timbre, texture, rhythm, gesture in vocal, instrumental, and electroacoustical means, giving special emphasis to structural, energetic, and spectral balance to build states of perception that leads to transcendence. Her latest works have been performed in both Americas and Europe. She holds a bachelor's degree in music composition from the National University of Music in Peru and has taken part in international educational programs. She is also a co-founder and member of Retama, a collective of Peruvian female composers. So the first part was actually the summary of what you kind of already told us. And now I have the question about this collective of Peruvian female composers. Why do you feel it is important for you to gather in a collective?
Well, I think that nowadays, maybe in Europe especially, the thing about gender equality, it's pretty much getting balanced. But I think that as long as we still have some feminicides, as long as we are being stereotyped in a way just because of how you born, I think it's complicated for humanity in general. So yeah, there's still some like stereotypes because just being a woman. So specifically in Peru, there was the idea that they were not no female composers. You know, when I just was like preparing myself to enter to school with my music theory teacher, he told me, oh yes, like being a composer in the conservatory, it's like Toby's Club. I don't know if you remember the Little Lulu. It was a show, okay. And it was like girls not allowed. And he was like, do you still want to, you know, apply to this career? And it's like, no, I don't care about it. But then I entered and I was like playing the piano because we also had like this jury exams. And I was like, oh, sorry, you're a singer. You need to go out. I mean, you're not allowed to be here in the piano. Sorry, I'm from composition. Okay, sorry. And this thing about, it can be really silly. It's like micro-machism, as you will say. But it affects you in a way. And then we realized with these girls that we all have these things that happen. And that when we were like in recitals, there was like every one of them men, which is natural because most of them choose the career. But also now what is happening maybe in the last 3 years, that it's like, okay, let's put a couple of female because it looks very bad just to have male, you know? And I mean, it's a problem. Both of them, for me, it's terrible. Like to have, we need to have female composers because it is terrible look just to have males, and the other thing too. So I think that, I mean, we made this group as a necessity to be visibilized, to collaborate with other woman artists. And I think this has been like the most important thing we've done as a collective, to really engage with other artists, like dancers, like other also performers, because, for example, we thought that in performers' case it was pretty much different than us, but actually not. I mean, they were also feeling these kind of differences. So it was also the fact of trying to build a safe space for us, like to work. I mean, we also work with men. It's not that we don't, but
You're an exclusive club.
yeah, no, it's not extreme, but yeah, it was a necessity. I think that at this point, and at least for me, it has been like very important. And I've also tell this to my colleagues, that it's okay. We're women, we're composers. What else? What else bring us together? And I think that in general, we're human beings. So we need to connect in ideas, we need to connect in spirit. And yeah, maybe as a first seed, you can say, okay, we're getting together because we're females, but it has a limit, I think so. I mean, any group. So yes, we're trying, we keep searching for that motivation. We are right now 3 years together. We have done the last project. We did a really nice concert in Cusco with performers from there, that they have like a very nice city. But yeah, the country is like very centralized in Lima. But anyway, so yeah, for me, it's the perfect scenario will be that there is no need to build a collective of female composers, that we're just all human beings sharing here, and doesn't matter how you look or how, yeah. So yeah.
So if we consider your styles of composition, you would say that you are not connected or influenced by each other.
You mean by, okay, no, not necessarily. Maybe for other people will say, okay, yeah, she's like the other one, but I don't know. I haven't reflected about that. I think we're very respectful with each other's works, and it's also about like feeling free to just, show what you wanna share with the others. Yes.
No, because I asked because it reminded me of a Slovenian group of composers called Pro Musica Viva, which was formed in the beginning of the 20th century only as a means to get acquainted with contemporary music, because it was not accessible at the time. So they didn't have any stylistic connection. They were very different, but this was the one thing that was connecting them.
Yes.
To get to know the contemporary music, and also to be able to perform.
Yes, and also
to get performances of the new pieces.
And also like contemporary music scene, it's like so tiny in our country, that if we put these limits of, okay, no, your aesthetic, no, it doesn't make sense. I mean, we have to like connect with people. I mean, even though in Europe I see that we're all struggling with connecting with people, so yes.
Yeah. Okay, I just have one more question, which is more of my personal wondering, probably.
Yes.
But yes, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday when Oscar was performing your piece, he put the violin in this weird position.
It was his idea.
Okay, so this wasn't
No, because this was like a collaborative process.
Okay.
So first we had a meeting to I mean, I was just like throwing some ideas of what I was trying to do in the piece, like really trying to think the movement, to think about the limitations of the body movements. And at that moment, I didn't even have an idea of how it's going to be, how it will sound. So it was the fact of trying to put him in like different physical scenarios, to see what are the limits, to see how far you can go. And because we were talking about this, we had a second meeting in which I like sent him some material to just play with it in maybe it was 1 month. And then we had this second meeting, and he was just like improvising with the material I sent to him. And then he just came with this idea, and how if we do this, you know? It's like another possibility. It's like, hey, okay, but that's a total different world, you know, like in sound, in how it looks, how everything. So, I mean, it wasn't like the goal of the piece to do that, but it was another possibility of movement. And it's, as he told me, it's a part of traditional like fiddle way of playing the violin with it's nothing weird. So we came to that, and it was very funny because in the process of the personal rehearsal, I was thinking about, okay, how you're gonna go to this position, but really naturally. And then we were thinking about I was thinking about the kind of rest and how to do this, how to put glue in that part. And then I said, okay, I can do this. And we laughed like for 1 minute because it was possible for him to do it. But yes, so I think it's very important to like share ideas with the performer, especially if you're writing a new piece for someone. Yes, and then also a big question was, okay, how I'm gonna turn into sound all of these things that we were playing in the collaboration or in the process. And then it came like the score and everything, and more the inside part, like Maximiliano was saying today, like really go to your table and do it. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Claudia, for
you're welcome.
These insights. Gašper, I'm sorry to keep you waiting for so long. I'm just gonna, actually I was gonna start with you, but now it turned out differently. I'm just gonna start with your presentation. So Gašper Livk is an instrumentalist and a composer based in Amsterdam. His portfolio includes the debut album Code Source System 01 and a 5-part set of albums titled Introducing Gašper Livk. Was released
in
or
3 days.
Will be? Oh, in 3 days. Okay, congratulations on that. In June 2023 by Clean Fit Records, featuring works for solo, duo, trio, octet of double basses and ensemble.
Yes, I did not listen to it because I was thinking about something else. But solo, duo, trio. Sorry to help you. Large ensemble and double bass octet. Correct.
Yes. Okay. And you will be also presenting this at the Ljubljana Jazz Festival as an artist in residence.
Yes,
right?
3 of these projects: trio, duo, and solo.
So how did this collaboration came to be?
Yes, it proved to be a necessary part in my life at this stage, as a landmark in one's professional life. I'm very grateful that I have been given this opportunity and that the initiative has presented itself and the invitation itself. And here I have to say that not only Institute Abeceda was the crucial part that made this all happen, but this again was one more instance of Institute Abeceda actually literally saving my life. So thank you for everybody also involved in this festival. Do owe the Institute my life. Yes, did I answer your question?
Okay, thank you. So this year you're here as a composer in residence. Let's talk more about the composition that will be performed today. Maybe just some general introduction or briefing, because it is a specific piece.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, of course, it was meant as a compliment, for sure.
It is perhaps specific in the sense that the score is entirely textual, but basically it consists of the essential building blocks of more or less any composition, which also perhaps is the only thing that holds it together, which are the categories of subject matter, structure, how to generate sound, theory, these kind of things. And on a subject matter level, as the title suggests, infinity quant disciplines. I don't think I'll be able to explain this without reading it off the page. I tried very hard to put it concisely, not to waste anybody's time, so I'm just going to read it. Infinity quant disciplines point to a category of disciplines that exclusively deal with activities of value grounded on achieving a particular result within a very narrow scope of conditions. Meaning, in plain language, any discipline that has value in itself and deals with a very nuanced level of, I don't know, making violence or making quantum computers or et cetera, et cetera. So it's a very cross-disciplinary observation that is inspirational. Yeah. Then, let's say the second category of the sound generative protocol consists of entirely something else, which is actually a sensory position towards one's own body, performer's own body. Essentially what performers do is they feel their circulatory blood circulatory system, and they increase their sensitivity towards it at every step. And this is essentially two of the three parts, and then the last part is the subject matter that has nothing to do with the rest. So these are, let's say, the three parts that generate the sound. Then the composition has a predetermined structure that basically lets performers navigate through the quantity of heartbeats, and that's more or less what the composition is. So to my surprise, the recording that I heard worked. So so hopefully the actual execution will be on a similar level, at least inspiration for me. Hopefully it will also give something to other people. Yes.
So I have a bit of trouble naming this, and I think you might be able to help me out, because you are not composing the sound result, and you are also not composing the actions of the performers, which would be two traditional ways of composition. So what are you composing a system, or how would you describe it?
I'm making sure that there is a subject matter, and I'm making sure that there is another level of sound generation that allow performers to actually not think about anything else, and in let's say on an ultimate level, speculatively, transcend themselves, forget about themselves, just execute, and the job is done.
So how do you see, who would be the ideal, not who, how would you imagine the ideal performer of your piece?
Essentially any performer that has all right, let's say, as we all love to say, the ultimate skill set on their instrument, etc., can sing their part or whatever they play, is very open naturally to whatever happens in music with capital M, and also the unintended, and can get over themselves in that sense that if the composition perhaps implies that there is a possibility of the performer ceasing to exist in the execution and in terms of I, the performer, and that we can actually think of the notion as music to just for that being the actual substance that is happening, then the goal is achieved.
Yeah, of course.
Ceasing to exist as in
metaphorical poetical way.
no, yeah, but theoretically it could be also that one person reads your score and then
That's not reading the score, so
I'm so sorry, no, but in the most better sense of the word. And then this person choose to do something where they actually kill themselves.
I don't think that's possible, and I will not claim responsibility for that.
Uh-huh. Then, but what do you mean then by ceasing to, what was the exact formulation?
Ceasing to exist. I said ceasing to exist, and perhaps I can help you with certain paraphrases. In execution of a piece, perhaps with your attention and body and all of your toolkit that you have as a performer, there perhaps can be a state described where there is, you don't think about yourself, you don't think of your lunch, dinner, etc., your problems, but there is the divine inspiration that is coming, and that is music with a capital M, that inspires you at every moment and gives you that extra little bit of nuance if we look at the sound purely objectively, and magic, poetically said.
It's like carpe diem, seize the day, but seize the existence, seize the thing
Yes,
that
as well,
happens.
yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So is this composition meant to be a first step of the evolving system? And where do you see it possibly
Only in the
evolving?
sense that there is the guiding principle of the formal procedure of composition, meaning a composition has essential building blocks that make it a composition. Even if we go into absurd liminalities of talking about that, I think that it will still be the case on some level. So in that case, yes, also in preparation, in comparison to my 5-piece box set, that might be the actual upgrade that perhaps the next 5 albums might do. And yes, everybody's kind of invited to listen to the release. It is what it is. It's plainly a documentation of my life in the past 5 years and nothing more. And I have some great souls helping me to get there: performers, producer, audio engineers, halls. Yeah, I have great gratitude for them.
I would still like to repeat my first question because I'm genuinely curious what your answer would be. You didn't get the chance to answer it. So do you have a personal definition of music, and how do you realize it through your compositional work?
My personal definition of music is any sound phenomena in humanity that transcends humanity and helps humanity transcend.
Okay, really nice. So I would love to finish with that, but I have one more question, which is now when you have the chance, when you have the people who will listen to your piece half an hour later, would you have anything to suggest, any suggestion how to listen to it, what to expect or what to be?
Yeah, pretend that this round table is, for my part, didn't happen.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all three of you, and Maximiliano, see you tomorrow again. Thank you.